Alrighty. Just a little bit late. Sorry about that. Lost track of time. It's Monday. What can I gotta say? But we're here. And the first 5 parts are on YouTube. When we get done tonight, I'll make a separate playlist just for this book, just to make it easier for everybody, and I'll add it to the link tree in my bio to make it a little easier should anybody need to go back and watch from the beginning. So we stopped in the middle of page 90. We are still, hold on, don't want to misquote this, on August 4th, 93 days to the election. That's where we're at. Okay, and just a quick refresher, this is when Tim Walz was coming in for his final interview for the vice presidency. Never mind the teleprompter. Here was a guy who knew how to put an engine together. A guy who could talk knowledgeably to a farmer about hogs and soybeans. A guy who knew what it meant to hunt in fall, to put food in the freezer, and to last through winter. None of it was shtick. It is just who he is. He would make the case for the people who were not in the room. Even more valuable, Tim would notice who was in the room and would know how to reach them. Of the 3 candidates, this quality was authentic and unique to him. As a farmer, factory worker, Army National Guardsman, social studies teacher, football coach, and Democrat who had beaten a 6-term Republican to win a congressional seat in 2006 and hold it through 5 elections, Tim had the most diverse life experience. He and his wife, Gwen, had struggled with infertility and had their daughter, Hope, through intrauterine insemination. Their son, Gus, still in high school, had special needs. Tim had the empathy that came from living those experiences. He knew what it meant to suffer as much as he knew what it meant to succeed. Can we normalize talking to people and getting to know them instead of assuming that their empathy comes from having people in their lives with disabilities? Can we stop assuming that the only way to have empathy or care about a situation is being in close proximity to it? It is okay to ask someone why they align with certain things, why they believe certain things. Let's normalize that. Let's normalize organically getting to know people. Let's do that. His record as a 2-term governor was impressive. He pushed for and signed legislation codifying reproductive rights, providing free school meals, making college tuition free for low-income families, and requiring universal background checks for gun buyers. Under his leadership, his state was designated one of the most business-friendly in the nation. These were issues that mattered to me. They were the kinds of achievements I wanted for my administration. I felt like Tim knew how to help me get them done. Isn't it funny that all the things that we hear from coast to coast, people say that we need, that they could benefit from, are the same things that those same people demonize Tim Walz for achieving? He said he had no ambition to be president, that his aim as vice president would be doing meaningful work to improve people's lives. It's no bad thing for a vice president to want to be president, unless that ambition plays a corrosive role in the relationship and causes disloyalty. That wouldn't be an issue with Tim. He had no fixed ideas about the role of vice president, of what the role of vice president should be, saying he would do whatever I found was most useful for him to do. And we have to keep that in mind. Not everybody wants to be the captain of the ship. Not everybody wants to be the breakout lead. Some people are fine with being a part of an ensemble cast, and some people are fine being an extra. Some people are fine being a member of the supporting cast because they know where they shine at, and that's okay. That's okay. This desire, this trend of wanting to be the lead in everything and having this main character syndrome is not necessary. That may not be your ministry. And that's okay. And sometimes you have a duality or a multiplicity. Sometimes you are the main character, sometimes you're the supporting character, and sometimes you are part of an ensemble. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you think there's something wrong with that, you, your reflection, and your ego need to have a conference. I'm just saying. Finally, Storm set off to collect Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona. As she drove up to the agreed meeting point, he texted her, "I'm in the Tesla by the dumpsters." For an astronaut who had walked in space, it was a very down-to-earth location for a rendezvous. By the time I sat down with Kelly, Shapiro, and Waltz had both impressed me in completely different ways. How the fuck did Shapiro impress you? He was a bit, never mind. And the things that people are impressed by, y'all really should learn the scope of people's careers. Like, for someone who walked on the moon, meeting next to do you know what it takes to be able to walk on the moon? It's not glamorous. Do you know what happens in space? I think it's very apropos. There was very little weight on the scale favoring one over the other. It should have been. Because knocked off the list immediately should have been Shapiro. Once again, if you missed parts 1 through 3, they're on YouTube. And in case you missed it, when we get done here, I'm going to form a complete playlist so it'll be easier for you to find all of them on YouTube. The choice between them was tough enough. Now, an American hero had entered the room, a Navy baseball cap paired handsomely with his business suit. This is where I struggle with the United States definition of hero. Choosing a career that puts you into space, to me, does not make you a hero. What did you save us from, E.T.? Like, anytime somebody fulfills their job description in a uniform with stars and stripes is involved, we automatically dub them hero when they haven't done anything heroic. Just like when a police officer or a paramedic fulfills the job description that they signed up for, we got to give them a special day and special praise. But we don't do that for doctors, nurse, anybody else. Like, I'm not trying to take away from anybody's accomplishments. But as an educator, if everyone in my class passes, that doesn't make me a hero. That doesn't make me special. That means I fulfilled the scope of the job that I signed up for. This is the problem. We're indoctrinated to be too easily impressed by certain uniforms. Ice Agent 47. If you're going to troll, be better at it. It's got to make sense. Right, Jess. Like Mark Kelly's wife, I would say she's a hero. Look into her. I would say she's a hero. But Mark walking on the like I said, I'm not taking anything away from his accomplishment, but Kelly served 24 years in the U.S. Navy, retiring as a highly decorated captain with over 5,000 flying hours and 39 combat missions. He and his twin brother, both astronauts, have dedicated their lives to our country in the most noble way. Scott Kelly spent almost a year in space to study the effects of long-term duration space travel on the human body. Because they are identical twins, retired astronaut Mark, down here on Earth while Scott was in space, was the perfect control subject. Unless in the next 2 to 3 business years we're about to turn the art of the movie WALL-E into reality. Why? We'll do anything but take climate change seriously and actually protect the planet that we're on. We will spend 10 times as much to go out and do all these studies for nobody to believe than take care of it. Once again, because somebody signed up to wear a uniform and went to space. Okay. And as much as we try to act as if we are so beyond and so advanced past generations and time periods before, there are still things that we act like are so magical and mythical, like the existence of multiverse, twins, triplets, like, can y'all stop? Because I'm pretty sure these people are tired of y'all mystifying them. Mark Kelly had also been put to the test by personal tragedy when his wife, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, was shot in the head in an assassination attempt. I had watched as he stood beside her every step of her long, difficult recovery and fought tirelessly for sensible gun reform. We'd worked together on that issue in the Senate. They had both been supportive friends ever since I was AG. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why you think that he's a hero. Because statistically speaking, when the going gets tough, men get going. It is expected for women to take care of men, and it is expected for men to move on and find a new caretaker. And I need people to realize that, yes, it is a great thing to have friendships, but when it comes down to the business of the day, fulfilling a job description trumps everything else, and you still have to be objective in your friendships. And once again, Gabby Gifford, she's the hero to me. And before somebody goes, well, he's a hero for sticking by his wife. Once again, why do we feel the need for all the pomp and circumstance and all of these parades for men doing what they signed up for? If he would have been the one shot in the head and Gabby would have stuck by him, would you have said that she was a hero? Would you have said that she deserved all this special treatment and all these special accolades? No, you would have said she agreed to be his wife. That's her job. So why not do that in reverse? I have a septum ring. Septic. I don't know why you're concerned about toilets all like that, but hey, you like it, I love it, broski. You do you. Once again, they come in just showing that no listening skills, no comprehension skills, but yeah, buddy, you really owned me with that one. Yeah. Septic rings. Septic rings. Okay. Every time we're talking about something universal, something that universally affects the population as a whole, a troll comes in trying their hardest to be racist. Like no plan of attack, but y'all prepared for a Civil War 2.0, right? Y'all just ready to take it to war and own everybody, and no strategy whatsoever, just none. Right, it's always the septic ring. He came in so proud, septic ring. Oh my God, I guess I should put all of the piercings back in. What do you think? I don't really get them because I don't know what theory they have when they see both of When I put the nose cuff and the lip ring in, then what? It'll be face piercing theory. And then when I say, what's the theory? Well, you can't research. I promise you, nothing beats when I said, hey, if you're a student or you have a student, I have some information and some tips for you. Barrage of racism. Like, what? I can't. Since I was also in charge of overseeing the National Space Council, I sought Mark's opinion on how to maintain a thriving aerospace industry for civilian and military ends. He'd advised me on one of my proudest achievements, the Artemis Accords, which provide a forward-looking set of international principles for how humanity uses the resources of space, the moon, and Mars. One of its most immediate concerns is creating a legal framework for how we deal with ever-proliferating space junk as the number of satellites increase and older ones decay and fall to Earth. When I took up my role at the Space Council, only 9 nations had signed onto the Accords. After my meetings with Narendra Modi, Emmanuel Macron, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and many other world leaders, it's now 55. Mark and I shared this passionate interest. Anybody catching what I'm catching right now? So Shapiro, one-trick pony. Kelly, one-trick pony. Waltz can be spread out like butter. Can be paired with multiple things. Knows a little bit about multiple things. And what he doesn't know, he's willing to learn. And she was having difficulty picking. And don't get me wrong, I have a great deal of respect for Pete Buttigieg. Because as we learned previously in this book, that was her number one choice. Why? And Kamala, girly pop. Girly pop. Not gonna lie. You irritate me the further I go through this book. You irritate me and not in a good way, okay? Because it's not like irritating you scratching my brain. I don't think you should have wrote this book the way that you did. At this point, this part of the book, I don't think you should have wrote the way that you did, because you're coming off as what people fear in a woman leader. You're coming off as you choosing things based on emotion and friendship instead of logic and feasibility. Now, my assertion may change as we go through this book, but that's what I'm feeling right now. And you're quite driven by some Zionism. You still were able to make somewhat good choices throughout here, but right now it's looking, I like you, girl, but the truth is the truth. An assessment is an assessment. Like I said, everybody gets critiqued over here. I was impressed that Mark had won his Senate seat in a traditionally red state, helping to turn it purple. He was pro-business in a way that mattered to me and could be helpful in countering the Republican narrative that I wasn't. As a senator for a border state, he'd broken with our party's preferred language on migration, calling the situation a crisis. I agree with the characterization and had argued that the White House should also use that word. No, the fuck they shouldn't. Kamala, are you truly a Democrat? Like, I'm beginning to wonder, Sister Pop. Look, Bookie Boo. Talking about they should have said crisis. No, they shouldn't, because it's not a migration crisis. The crisis is United States dipping their nose in everybody else's business for the sake of profitability in the United States. But then we also want to denigrate people who have no choice but to come here, especially since we market to them that they should come here, and this is where it's at. And we fail to be honest about our dependency on migrant work and migrant money in our economy. So we create a whole boiling pot of racism that's counterproductive to what we need to survive. And you're helping it out? You really pissing me off. You're really pissing me the fuck off. But we read as we judge. What's wrong with nothing's wrong with emotion, but we don't need somebody making decisions based off of emotion with the nuclear codes. We're watching someone make the vast majority of their decisions in a presidential administration right now. That's not working out too well for us. It never is. I have a great deal of respect for my friends. I do. But they will tell you, when I'm telling you all that you have to be honest and critical with your friends, they are that way with me. I am that way with them. I give advice and say things based upon what I live and what I truly believe and how I live by. I don't want people to just pat me on the back and go, yeah, I'm picking you because we're friends. No, if I'm not qualified, don't pick me, because if you're not qualified, I'm not choosing you. I'm not recommending you. That's not being a bad friend. No, emotions aren't supposed to be involved in everything. Sometimes you have to suspend your emotions and focus on the logic, the feasibility. Because emotions can lead you astray. Emotions are what gives you the rose-colored glasses. Emotions can have you ignoring red flags. Emotions is what keeps people comfortable in white privilege and fragility and racism, because they find a comfort spot there and they never want to move out of it. I agreed with that characterization and argued that the White House should also use that word. Irregular migration was a crisis, a global one, to which we, America, always a beacon for the poor and the threatened, could not be and were not immune. Politically, I rarely emphasize that point because it could be mischaracterized as a lame excuse. Okay, you pissing me the fuck off. You know good and damn well that the United States has never been a beacon for the poor and the threatened. Now, previously in this book, Kamala Harris talks about how her mother was treated because she was a brown woman with an accent and how people treated. This is what pisses me off about some marginalized individuals, okay? Some melanated people. I'm not going to call them Coontastic Coalition members, but I am tired of them getting to a certain age or a certain point in life and acting as if shit wasn't completely the way that it was. You'll hear them from time to time talk about what they went through or what their parents or grandparents went through, and then they'll sweep everything under the rug as if they were ushered underneath the umbrella of whiteness. It's no different than communities that used to be on the outside of the parameters of whiteness that were pulled into the parameters of whiteness that act as if from time to time people don't slip up and forget that they're supposed to be white, that they're supposed to be treated as white, and they forget and act as if they're so distant from how their parents and grandparents were treated. Like, we have to stop this. For forward motion, complete honesty has to be on the table at all times. I'm tired of people walking around in 2025 that are older than desegregation in the United States, acting as if racism isn't a problem or it hasn't been that bad of a problem. The United States has been a beacon for the poor and the threat. The fuck? The United States has made people poor and threatened globally. That's like if I come to your house, uninvited, unexpected, take a hatchet to your front and back door, bust out most of your windows, and cut the gas lines, and take your money to pay the electric bill. And then you come to me and like, girl, I need to stay. And I let you stay, but I don't give you a bed, a couch, even a chair to sleep on, the thinnest of blankets. I bitch and complain and make you feel uncomfortable. I take most of your money and make it impossible for you to even get back to your residence, let alone look for a new residence. And I mess with your mental health so much that you can barely hold down a part-time job, let alone a full-time job. And then I sit back and complain going, oh, she's so lazy. She just over here just so dependent on me. I don't know how she got here in the first place. While other people are like, oh, look at Taz. She's just a beacon of help for those that are so downtrodden. You get it now? Do you get it now? But Mark's slowness to sign onto the PRO Act protecting unions' right to organize had raised a red flag. He's a white man. He's a white man that realized that with his look and him having hero status because of the 2 uniforms that he's worn and being a twin of somebody up in space, and he knows that most people in the United States are stupid or just don't pay attention, and they'll think that he's on Earth and in space at the same time, and he let them know that he could be historic in flipping a red state purple on the map, but not in ideology or legislation. So no, he wasn't going to be for unionization. He had come out in full-throated support as recently as July 24th, aware, maybe, that I would only choose a running mate who was unquestionably pro-labor. Of course. He knows how to play the game. He knows how to stack the deck to get the votes. He's touted as a hero. He's been to space. He has a brother that's willing to stay up there for a year. He got a wife that was shot in the head and he didn't leave her. And every chance he gets, he likes to talk about her trauma. It's like a parent of an autistic child. Strips their child of all autonomy, all identity, all personality, and categorizes them by what they live with. No more, no less. And wonders why that child oftentimes does not thrive until they're out of the care of that parent. Yeah, Mark Kelly knows how to play it. He's like, oh yeah, I support it and won't vote for it. Look at his voting record. I admired Mark Kelly. We can tell. We can tell. We can tell once again. Are you sure you're a Democrat? Yeah, some of the parts in this book you should have kept in your inside. Should have kept in your inside voice, girly pop. Just saying. As I sat across from him, what I saw was our American ideal of selfless service. Was it? Seemed like it was pretty self-serving. Pretty sure he had a plan to stack that resume, because he definitely wants people to know that a hero lies in him. Because I'm pretty sure if he could make t-shirts and wear them every day, everywhere, going, guess what? I've been to space and I flew for the Navy. He would wear it. Like, the fuck you mean selfless? Well, he would be magnetic to who? To who? Women that want to that have a fetish for getting banged out by military personnel? The hell? Untarnished. Is he? He also hadn't yet had an oh shit moment in his relatively short political career. You sure about that? Are you sure about that? I wasn't sure how he would cope with the kind of garbage Trump would throw at him. Not too well. Not too well. Especially the way that they was trying to run you up through there. Talking about you was a hoe and on your knees. And if you thought that the Biden administration didn't have your back, you think that a self-proclaimed war hero and space hero would have came to your rescue? Nah. No, he would have started talking about how faithful he was to his wife and how faithful she was to him, even though, half her brain got blown out. oh, he would have eclipsed you. Just like they had calls for Joe to leave, he would have put in calls for you to step down and step out the way, girly pippity pop. Could a captain, used to deference and respect, adapt to an opponent's national campaign specifically designed to disrespect him, to cut a hero down to something small? You can recognize Kelly's military service, but you didn't have these concerns about Tim Walz. Girl, you got a lot to think about, and you are very naive, very green when it comes to the military. Have you been around anybody who's been in the military, retired or active? Do you know the grimy things they say and do to one another? Have you talked to any women or femme-presenting individuals that have been in the military or are currently there? Do you know what they go through? Have you seen whiskey leaks over in the Defense Department? Like, you've worked with inmates, sister girl. What kind of code of conduct do you think our military is walking around with? They be raping people on the battlefield. They be sticking all sorts of their body parts in corpses. Kamala, you giving me a migraine with this part of the book, girl. You making me think I'm gonna need something stronger than ice water on this good Monday night. What the hell? What the heliante? What the heliberry? Girl. Sit in the corner. Take a time out from this book to sit your goofy ass down in the corner. Cause what? Absolutely. Could a captain, used to deference and respect, adapt to an opponent's national campaign specifically designed to disrespect him, to cut a hero down to something small? John Kerry, a war hero, had been swift-boated, defamed in an untrue campaign about his military record that had unfairly damaged his reputation. The guy who had led that effort, Chris LaCivita, was now one of Trump's top campaign aides. I realized that I can't afford to test Mark Kelly and that ugly grinder. Was Tim Walz self-deprecating as you described in the pages we went through yesterday, or did you just not believe in him? Did you believe that he was so low on the totem pole that he would make you look good? Were you the misogynist man in this scenario? Because in this part of the book, Bookie Butt, you're sounding like the racist white men that were talking about you on the campaign trail. Like, did that dawn on you while you were writing this book? And do not think that it has gone unnoticed, because it hasn't. How simplistically this book was written in comparison to how complex you generally tend to speak when you need to speak to the public. Keep in mind, we're going through this book together. I'm not reading ahead. I'm not doing anything. Everything is in real time. But once again, for those of y'all that think that I'm joking and have missed my breakdowns during election cycles, everybody gets critique around here. If it don't pass the smell test, I'm going to let you know it don't pass the smell test. We don't have to agree, but we can share our takes on the stuff. When Kelly left, I got on a Zoom call with the selection committee and my chosen committee of advisors, Senator Catherine Catherine Cortez Masto, Labor Secretary Marty Walsh, former Congressman Cedric Richmond, and Tony West. We reviewed what we'd heard from each of these exceptional men and weighed the pros and cons. Their concerns were how adeptly and passionately each of them would defend me. In short, who would be the most loyal and effective at the job? The ambition must be for the job, not for the political future beyond. Is it for the job? Because all I keep hearing is me, 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 me. The same thing that collectively people have been complaining about with Trump. Trump looking for loyalty. Trump sycophants looking for loyalty in other people. Everything is about defending her. And don't get me wrong, as a black woman living in the United States, hell, just existing on this floating space rock, I get it. I get it. It gets frustrating. And you do want people to defend you when you're being taken up and through, when you are being dragged through the mud for just existing. I get it. But when it comes to the work, I need you to be qualified and dedicated to the work. Not there defending me. Defend the policies that we need to put out. Defend the legislation that needs to be passed. I don't give a damn about you defending me. Especially since she keeps talking about her loyalty. But when did she outright, even in this book, say, hey, no, Biden was capable? She kept slick saying that he wasn't capable. Oh, you know, when he gets tired, when you push him too hard, you mean when he's being the president, having the most stressful position on the planet. Like I think I get the sentiment. We're going to keep going. Like I said, maybe parts of my assessment will change. I don't think overall my assessment will change. Yeah, it seems like she was looking for a Lenny and George situation at this point in the game. That's just what I'm thinking. You may not think the same. To get a young person's opinion, I called my godson, Alexander Hudlin, 17 years old and very much a creature of the zeitgeist. He was for Waltz. Auntie, I like him. Why the fuck are we asking people who can't vote? My senior staff, to a person, strongly favored Tim. A confidential group within the campaign had already mocked up announcements pumping whichever of the three I chose, ready to press send once my decision could be announced. This helped me envision the narrative of our ticket. How about you envision who is the most qualified that could help the majority of the people of the population of this nation? It was late when I finally sat down in the family room. Micah and Tony were staying with us. They both liked Waltz. So it seems like everybody from the beginning liked Waltz, and you keep trying to sprinkle some type of fucking doubt in here because you were the doubting Thomas. Just say that. We don't need 67 fucking pages to you saying that you were the only one that was doubtful. That you underestimated your opponent, your sidekick. And I think that played into the narrative that you spun for the both of you and how you campaigned. You didn't truly believe in him. You doubted. You looked at him as less than what he actually was. And I think it was because he grew up in rural America. You bought in to the indoctrination that city folks smart and good, country folk stupid and bad. Just say that. That could have been a lovely lesson, especially in contrast to the line as JD put it in the pullout, V. POTUS, who lied about hillbillies and rednecks when he's neither. It was late when I finally sat down in the family room. Maya and Tony were staying with us. They both liked Walt. Maya especially liked the fact that he was not trying to be anything but the best VP for her sister. He's loyal. He'll have your back on the trail, and it's clear that you like him, she said. I hate to say this, but I'm beginning to notice that a lot of women, especially melanated women within a certain age bracket, they like people who look at them in a motherly role and have no problem being a subordinate, and they kind of get off on that. That like everything that you will do will be all about them. That's more than a slippery slope. That's dangerous. But let's continue. Doug and I went back and forth. He had known Josh longer and leaned that way. Once again, why are we basing things on fucking friendships? This isn't, hey, I want you to help me put together a neighborhood barbecue because I liked how you decorated for your housewarming party. This is a country we're talking about. This isn't about friendships. Oh, you can hate me till the rapture actually happens. It's not about our friendship. It's not about me and you liking each other or spending holidays together. Can we make this country a better place? Or at least sustain the status quo. And also, you're doing what you and others accuse Amy Coney Barrett of doing, seeking way too much advice and guidance from your male spouse. And I'm not saying it's a wrong thing, it's a good thing. I'm saying he didn't sign up for the job and we didn't vote for him. We didn't ask his opinion on anything. We didn't ask for his expertise. But if we're going to criticize one person in the public eye for doing it, we can't turn around and do it ourselves. We can't. I can't sit here and criticize people for going to rallies of problematic people and then I turn around and do the same damn thing. Just because I tell you about it before somebody else can tell you about it does not make it any better. Actually makes it a bit worse. It was always going to have to be my decision. I told my staff and family that I didn't want any more input and I went to do something practical. I made a tasty rub and seasoned a pork roast. By the time I went to bed, I decided on Walt. I love how she always likes to throw in there like, I'm still the good old traditional wife. I still cook. I still clean. Let me show you how I got this ring. Girl, stop. It kind of goes without saying that you got to eat. But you're not ingratiating your husband. You're kind of making him look bad. Like, he was up on a pedestal by what we saw publicly. But those of y'all that have been here for a while, and if not, you can go to YouTube and check out the other parts. But she talked about how she would basically meal prep for Doug while vice president. This man couldn't put together a sandwich. What was he doing before y'all got married? Like, always pointing out the cooking and cook. Like, I don't need you to try to put a pin in it to get dinner together or do the laundry should you be elected president. And I need you to step away from leaning into the gender roles, biases, and stereotypes. You can't say that you're about breaking the glass ceiling if all you're doing is spraying Windex on it and wiping it off and making sure it's shiny and pretty for the sunlight to come through. I'm doing something practical. I would have thought you would have went to go meditate, do some more research on these people, to say that you know, because while on the campaign trail, you were still the sitting vice president. Go over your briefings, make sure you were up on current events. I don't fucking know. Go soak your coochie. I don't know. Just, Jesus. Right. Hillary wasn't cooking shit and wasn't sitting there trying to convince you that she was cooking shit. Hillary wasn't trying to convince you she was ironing, vacuuming, nothing. Hillary was like, I went to law school for a reason, bitch. Let me show you why. Just like Michelle Obama. We know that, before they got into politics, yes, very hands-on parent, blah, blah, blah. But she knew her duties as First Lady, especially with the expanded role of First Lady by the time she became First Lady. She wasn't out here like, oh, yes, and I brought my recipe of this, and I... Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like yesterday when we were talking, and she's like, yeah, before we moved into the residence, I got with them to get this custom table, for family dinners and blah. Not gonna lie, Kamala, this is why a lot of people didn't think that you accomplished anything. This is why the press really wasn't following you around. You kept leaning into and putting out when you did cooking segments, and you talking about doing all of this trad wife type of shit. And no, I'm not hating on traditional women. Trad wives, yes. Traditional women, no. Now, I don't like the term traditional, because what tradition are we are we talking about? So I know what category you go into, but no. I don't give a damn if my politician... I would hope you know the price of groceries in the area, but I don't care what you cook. I don't care if you can cook. I don't care if you eat turkey and cheese sandwiches every fucking day. Can you do the job we hired you for? Because when I worked in corporate America for other people, they didn't give a damn about my cleaning schedule. They didn't give a damn if I was the one doing the laundry. They didn't give a damn if I was doing any cooking. They didn't give a damn if I could toast bread, because I was not in the food industry as a sous chef or a head chef. And this is why I personally feel offended as a black woman with the whole Mamala Kamala thing, and people still, and see, once that got into their head and the way she has portrayed this is why I don't have too much vigor in defending her at this point when it comes to the protests, because yes, are the protests idiotic? Absolutely. But you gotta kind of tell it how it is, and sometimes, sometimes we got to pull our fellow sisters to the side and go, Bookie butt, you did this to yourself. Kamala allowed herself to be put in that all-encompassing role of big sister, auntie, mother to the country, and that's what they're looking for in her now, even though she has zero political power, even though she said multiple times that right now politics is not her focus. But they want to protest her. They want to be mad at her. They want her to make amends for things that she didn't put into place. We're 9 months in. We're almost 9 months in to a whole new presidency. And he has done things to wreak havoc everywhere. But they're not protesting him. They're protesting her because of how she positioned herself. It's no different than, and no, I'm not saying that they are the same type of person. No, I'm using this person because it is a good example of the persona you put out there can come back to bite you in the butt. Okay? Let's stay focused. But it's no different than when controversies hit Ophelia, aka Mama Tot. And people are a lot harder on her and a lot less understanding and give her a lot less grace. And no, not defending anything, pointing out facts. Don't come for me acting like I'm trying to excuse people's behavior, rhetoric, anything, or that I'm choosing any type of side. If you want to know how I feel about the situation surrounding her, we can talk about it on another day. This is just an example, okay? Okay. And it's because she's positioned herself as the good old, kind, unproblematic Southern belle that just wants to love on everybody. So when people are going through something and they ask for her help and she ignores them, or she doesn't want to share a GoFundMe, or she doesn't show up to an event, they're like, I can't believe, because that's how she positioned herself. That's how she marketed herself. that she's a mama to all. And when you do that, that comes with a lot of stuff that you may not have thought it comes with, or you may not want to do for everybody, but you didn't specify that. It was way too close for me as well. I personally would not have answered the question when asked, like, oh, well, what do your stepkids call you? I would have said that's personal because everybody else does not need to know. And I don't, first of all, building a relationship with someone else's children, whether it's a romantic partner's child, nieces and nephews, like nibblings, the children of friends, children at your church, children in your community, whatever, it takes an increased amount of trust for children to trust you and their parents to trust you. So when there's trust and a bond is formed, anything that is special to that relationship, I believe, should be guarded. That is not for public consumption. Those children gave her a name, something that they all agreed upon, that they were comfortable with. To put that out and let people feel that without any work being done, without any inside knowledge, know nothing, without going through the bumps and bruises to get there, now they can call her that and they can have that expectation and they're supposed to get the same love and respect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, do I also have issues with 2 white children before y'all go, but they're Jewish? Jewish is an ethno-religion. It's an ethnicity and a religion. It ain't a race. You can be any race on the planet and be Jewish. Okay? Okay. But those 2 white children coming up with Mamala, they weren't super young when she got with Doug and they got married. So this isn't like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old who stumbled to say Kamala and it oh mama, like they're confused, like that's mommy 1 and that's mommy 2. Yeah, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way as well. But once again, I don't know the strides that they took to get to where they were. But don't. Because like somebody had said to me once, there's someone who was dating a relative of mine, and they're like, oh, because they're younger than me, like, oh, you have a problem with them? You don't have a problem with them calling you by your first name? No, because we're not familiar. We don't have that type of relationship, and I don't foresee us ever having that, because this individual is extremely disrespectful. So no, they don't get to call me anything that's endearing. They don't get to come into that sphere of having that familiarity with me. Absolutely the fuck not. Just like there are social media platforms that I don't allow people to call me Taz on, because we are not that familiar. They don't know me like that, and they never will. And because I don't show them that the side of me. Like there's one particular social media platform that I keep family members that I deal with a very extendo long-handed spoon, and people that different levels of school I have engaged in, but they don't know me and have shown zero desire to. So they get what they get. I spoon feed them what the fuck I want to spoon feed them. Alrighty, we'll do August 5th, and then we'll stick a pin in it for tonight. Some of these are short, some of these are long. And before we do this one, I want y'all to keep in mind, there are a lot of people who are claiming that they've read this book. Keep in mind, we started on this book the day that it came out. Now, I'm not saying that people could not have sped through it, but if you went and got this book, you have a copy and you read it, why are you using a picture of the book from the internet? Like, you can tell this, I took because you can see like the shadow of my phone in there. But I do enough of these series. Y'all know that I use my own books. Because sometimes I accidentally delete the pictures that I use and I have to retake them. So you'll see like different colored blankets and stuff in the background. And also when they're showing you excerpts from the book, the excerpts are obviously coming from the internet. Because we know what pages on a book look like. Do realize that they're taking talking points from somebody else and spewing them. Like there's one person who's going hard in the paint, proclaiming that they're a Democrat, and everything that they're saying thus far, they're getting so wrong. They're getting so wrong. And as we're going through the book, I keep looking for, like, waiting to hear or read, waiting to read and see the excerpt that they keep pushing on people as they're telling people that they're stupid. And I'm like, that's pretty far back in the book. So how did you get to that on day one, an hour after the book came out? Because even when Rachel Maddow interviewed Madam Vice President, and I have that interview up on YouTube as well, it took her the whole day to get through the book. Yeah, just be aware. And I always say, be aware of people who aren't willing to sit with you through the book and go through it. Now, I am not joking, but there are people who've been here with me since the beginning. I'm the OG of this. That's why I have the whole series, Learning Through Black Literature, and reading the full books to people. I started doing this to help people because books can get expensive. Everybody doesn't have access to everything. And sometimes people need to just put their phone down, go do laundry, sit back, veg out, and they can just hear and get a little history along with it. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Anytime somebody's like, oh, yeah, I went and got it and I read it. So why'd you have to pull a picture off the internet? August 5th, 92 days to the election. In the morning, as usual, Doug was up before me. He likes to make his coffee from scratch. He can make coffee, but he can't make dinner. Did you let Doug read this book before it was published? Does he know how? You know what? This between y'all. I ain't getting on their folks' business yet. I pointed out to him that there are machines that grind the beans and make the brew so that it's all ready for you when you wake up. But he's not interested. He likes his system. Kamala, you got a weird blend of I'm every woman and I bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan. Like, what is this? Are you the trad wife, do it all, I conquered the world, warrior princess, or are you heat and serve? Like, what? Okay. I got to do all the marinades and break everything down so he has a good home cooked meal. But I'm complaining about something heat. You know what? This why being queer can be very difficult, okay? Men are frustrating, and I'm like, ew, why? Why am I attracted? Women frustrating, ew, why am I attracted to you? Like, the fuck? Just difficult for no damn reason. I was standing there in my bathrobe, waiting for the noise of the grinder to stop. Why? Honey, I said, have I made the right choice? Once again, we criticized Amy Coney. I hate being indecisive, but there I was. Doug turned and gave me a look. Your gut is always right. Trust it. Except for when it came to how she... Never mind. I knew very well that wheels were already in motion. Sheila had, assembled a small trusted team who were en route to Minnesota to brief Tim and get the whole family ready for the rally that night. Ink was already flowing onto hundreds of Harris Wallace posters. I recalled an earlier conversation with Barack Obama. He'd also narrowed it down to 3 finalists: Joe Biden, Evan Bayh, and Tim Kaine. I asked him how he'd finally decided on Joe. I chose Joe because we were very different, he said. Different types, different sets of experience. You cover more ground. And Joe Biden knew every damn body in D.C. Pretty much the only job he ever had. If you're going to be a black man making history, or a black person, period, making that type of history, you need a white person that people like and that they got connections. Mostly to keep your ass from being assassinated. I'm just saying. You thinking it. I said it. It's the truth. Shit. That accorded with my thinking and made me feel good about my decision. This is why you were trying to convince yourself that you and Tim Walz were so different when you were very much alike. You all can just talk to different crowds, which is a good thing. You can be... Let me put it to you like this. I have 2 friends that always joke about them being the Thanos and collecting the Infinity Stones of Taz. Let me explain. They said that they have found different Tazes in different fonts, different cultures, different genders. And those different and the experiences, where everybody's lived. I've looked at these people, and yes, we all have the same wheelhouse. We pretty much sound alike, but we're able to talk and connect with different people and get through to them in different ways. And that is essentially what we got with Harris Walz. Same person, different fonts. While I worked out, I turned on the television to see what the American people were watching. So much political punditry feels to me like high-class gossip, usually based on speculation with minimal facts. The morning's chatter was no exception. No, that's what it's like to watch Fox News. The rest of us, when we're giving political tea, we have researched the hell out of it, and we've been watching you from the beginning. We got all the facts. We just don't like the shit that you're doing. So we're going to criticize you. I'm going to think when you're working out, maybe don't watch OAN, Breitbart, Newsmax, CNN, or MS or Fox News. That's, just off the top, off the dome. Because I got a pretty good idea what you was watching, Miss Mamas. It was time to call Tim. I got my campaign videographer ready to film the call for social media. Then I sat down at the table and tapped in his number. It went to voicemail. I called again. Same. Can we normalize y'all just doing this shit and not trying to pretend that you captured a spontaneous moment? Because if you're scheduling a videographer, you've practiced your reaction, your tones, your everything else. This isn't like you had a teenager in your house that was coming in like to catch you doing something or sneaking and catching the moment and getting something genuine. Let's stop the BS. Please and thank you. And I love the authenticity of Tim Walz. Like, I'm not picking up the phone for you. I know what's going on. You done sit the heifer down here. I got to sign all these NDAs and shit. You gave me talking points for tonight. Let me get prepared. What are we doing this for? I thought the announcement was tonight. Why I got to show up to work tonight to do this shit if we're doing it, if we're phoning it in for social media? We could have saved the campaign money and having all these people come down in the damn heat. It's summertime. Tim, at home in Minnesota, saw blocked number on his cell phone and figured it was a spam call. He didn't pick up. He didn't want his line to be busy, just in case I called. So nobody prepped him that it would say blocked number. And after being a governor and a congressperson all this time, and his official phones will say the same fucking thing, you gonna tell me he did? I had to get Sheila to text him and tell him to pick up the damn phone. The cat out of the bag, Gwen, his wife, videoed the call on their end. She caught him sitting down by the window in his camo baseball cap as he finally answered. That's the thing. There we go. That's how you do it. You sitting down with a videographer, don't nobody want to see. You the one that made the decision. You're not shocked by this. And what kind of reaction were you going to get over the phone? Don't nobody want to just listen to a damn voice? Lord have mercy. Jesus. Hi, this is Tim. It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor. Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate? And let's get this thing on the road. I would be honored. What the? I forgot how impersonal that. Girl, that could have been a text or email. You had already sent somebody down there. What? I'd have hung up on you. You gonna have somebody text me to tell me that you're calling. Then you gonna call to tell me that it's you on. I'd have hung up. I would have hung up. It's probably why I'll never be in politics. I would have. First of all, I'd have hung up, called you back on a landline so I could hang up on you again so you could hear the hang up. And those of y'all that used to use landlines, you know what I mean, so they could hear the hang up. Absolutely not. My next job was to quickly contact Josh and Mark. The news had already started to leak, and they should hear this from me, not the media. Why? They're politicians, not your damn kids. It's not like you're Rupert Murdoch going, I just want to let you know that this time around, you're not going to be the kids that I sue. Maybe next time, though. Dana Remus later let me know that Josh had been trying to reach me earlier that morning. I bet he did. The only reason I could imagine for him calling was that he'd intuited he wouldn't be the choice and wanted to withdraw first. So it would seem as if as his decision. Of course he did. Or he was going to try to please, baby, please, baby, please. But nothing was said about that, and he graciously offered to introduce us to Philly, which was a lie. He didn't do it. I'd been concerned that holding the rally there as long planned would seem disrespectful to him, since so many had expected and wanted him to be my choice. But he dismissed those concerns and said that he knew such a major event couldn't be relocated at the last minute, even if he had wanted me to, which he did not. Yes, he did. It would, he said, be a great opportunity to show party unity around the newly decided ticket. I appreciated his leadership. He wasn't trying to lead you, girl. His feelings was hurt. He wanted to kick you to the curb. Yeah. And you said, I didn't want to do this. Once again, too concerned about emotions. Like, you too worried about being liked instead of worrying about getting the job done. The best leaders are not always liked by everybody. But eventually people appreciate them because they have to make the hard decisions. Mark Kelly was equally gracious, promising that I had his support and that he and Gabby would do everything they possibly could. He lived up to that promise throughout the rest of the campaign. How the fuck he's speaking for his wife? Did she agree to any of this shit? Because I don't think she was on the short list of anything. I don't think that she reached out and said that she wanted to be anything. Did she say that she wanted to? I don't recall you saying that you had a conversation with both of them. I wish the fuck you would volunteer me for some shit. You wanted to do this. Last time I was in politics, they tried to take me the fuck out. They ain't trying to take you out, bitch. Of course, the world had not conveniently paused as I managed the VP process. The White House sits at the corner of a hailstorm of events, national and global, and that barrage doesn't stop for an election. I told you, I don't know why you was out there marinating a fucking pork booty. You should have been getting up to date on the shit that you signed up to do in the job. As I'd been interviewing and making my decision, I was acutely aware of the rising tensions between Iran and Israel. That afternoon, I headed to the Situation Room where the president had convened a meeting of the National Security Team. My first duty as vice president was to be there to help assess the intelligence and advice and to offer the room and the president my perspective. I'm only the 11th sitting vice president to run for president. When speaking on the campaign trail or facing Trump on the debate stage, the gravity of moments in the Situation Room weighed heavily on my heart and mind. Fuck your heart. Your heart is dripping in hot honey Zionism. I will never discuss here or anywhere else the conversations in that room. Well, you can't. Let's not make it seem like you're taking a high road. You can. The middle of the night calls to gather there, the dramas that unfolded. Unlike the current national security team, we did not hash out our plans on Signal. It's a good joke. It's a great joke, even. America's national security relies heavily on classified information that our adversaries try very hard to acquire. Why make it easy for them? And where is the professionalism? Where is the self-discipline? As soon as I became vice president, I disabled the text capability and even the camera on my phone. For 4 years, I didn't receive or send a text message of any kind, official or unofficial. As for matters of national security, whatever the hour or the day of the week, the president and I and our entire team hauled our asses out of bed and into a SCIF, a sensitive compartmented information facility, or the situation room. Sometimes in the middle of dinner or watching a show, I would receive a certain call and immediately get up and leave the room. Yeah, we didn't need you to explain that. That's just the job. Like, that's kind of like a nurse or a doctor explaining being on call. The fuck? Doug would say, there she goes again, aware that he'd never know from me what crisis had interrupted us. Yeah, no shit. Our task that afternoon was to assess current intelligence and make sure we were doing everything we could to calm tensions. Back in April, Iran had launched more than 100 ballistic missiles at Israel. It could have led to an uncontrollable escalation. It hadn't, thanks to intense diplomatic efforts by our administration. We and our regional allies had rallied to Israel's defense and limited the damage. We have not had diplomats or a CIA station in Iran for almost a half century, since students occupied our embassy and took our people hostage in 1979. We know the threat posed by the regime of the Ayatollahs, but the United States has not always aligned with our Israeli allies on how best to contain it. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the nuclear deal painstakingly brokered by the Obama administration, had paused Tehran's march to bomb and given us the ability to see into Iran's nuclear program through regular International Atomic Energy Agency inspections. Netanyahu had encouraged Trump to tear up the plan, which he did in 2018, shutting down the ability and unshackling Tehran. Differences of opinion existed even within our national security team. As with every national security issue, the president would hear from the generals. He would challenge the heads of the intelligence community. He would seek a global view, teasing out how any given action we might take in one region would be perceived by our allies or adversaries elsewhere. His years of experience in foreign policy clearly showed in those discussions. He was always focused, always commander-in-chief in that room. My job was to sit at the right hand, hear all views, test assumptions, ask hard questions, and help him make the best decisions he could. Okay, I'm not going to be too hard on her with this because I understand the enthusiasm and I understand it's a cool job. You know, you're working in the White House. You're the second in command of the United States. You're the second most powerful person on the planet. I get her gleeful kindergarten show and tell moment. And I mean no disrespect when I say it and describe it this way, but we know that feeling. We all know that, you know, it's so cool. I want to tell you about it, but taking that time to write that out, to explain to us that, like, okay. Okay. So, like I said, we'll get this up over on YouTube for any of it that you missed. You missed any of the previous parts, it's up on YouTube, and I will work on putting them all together in a playlist tonight, so it's a little bit easier for everybody to find and follow along should you miss any of it. Do not forget, join me tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, for the Taz Effect Daily News in a way you didn't know that you could use. And tomorrow, Tuesday, September 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. There will be Conversations with Taz, the podcast, over on the Tube of You. If you are not subscribed on TikTok or on Substack, check the link in my bio. Get tuned in and be sure to peruse parameters of the links in my link tree, because there are a lot of resources in there. As always, thank you for joining me, and each one teach one, each one reach one. We will pick up tomorrow for August 6th, 91 days to the election, same time, same place, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern, and I'll see you there. Be good.